138 Openings of Wisdom, Kalach Pitchei Chochmah by the Ramchal, Rabbi Moshe Chaim Luzzatto. This is opening 14. Before I start the opening, I usually say a few things about the number 138. It's a part of my study in Gematria. 138 is the numerical value of the word. It's pronounced in two ways. So, in one way, it's the word nun pei chet. So you can say nefach. In modern Hebrew, that means volume, the amount of something, the volume. And it also are the same letters of the word nofech. Nofech, I think nofech might be with a chaf. So in sound, it's the same. It's really so nefach. I'm sorry, so I take that back. It's nofech sapir yahalom. It sounds the same, but it's not. I'm still trying to figure out the connection between letters that sound the same and the numerical values that are different. But in terms of numerical value, the word nefach, which means volume, is equal to 138. And just to connect it to other words that I can think of, tzemach, plant, and volume, I don't see the direct connection. Hatzlacha, chelek, maybe the word chelek, part, is equal to 138, and volume, I see somewhat of a connection there, that part of something constitutes the volume. Not as clear, but Lebanon, Kos Eliyahu, Malchin, the composer, Chalak, smooth, Magatz is an iron. I've made a connection between Chalak, smooth, and iron, you smooth it out, and Nachalim, rivers. They're all equal 138. But that's my opening of the 138, and this is the openings of wisdom 138. Opening 14. The government is structured to produce man possessing free will, and everything is laid down in Keter. The existing structure of the Sephirot, the entire structure of the different levels, the purpose of the levels themselves, the purpose of all their parts, their various properties, and all their interconnections, is the first foundation of the government instituted by the Emanator, blessed be his name. For he knew that this is what is necessary, no less and no more, to bring about one complete cycle of government in order to come to the intended goal of his creation, which is the perfect bestowal of good. Having explained the forms and likenesses in which the Sephirot appear in the prophetic vision, we will now discuss what relates to the Sephirot in themselves and their various attributes. The existing structure of the Sephirot, the entire structure of the different levels, the supreme mind, HaMachshava HaElyona, is the highest thought, calculated how to make man in such a way that he would have intelligence and a good inclination and also an evil inclination that he can control. The supreme mind calculated how to give man a method of service through which he can earn merit, or how to punish him until he becomes fit, and then afterwards to give him eternal reward. I'm just taking a pause. This is, I call this 138 Openings of Wisdom, reading and meditation. I forgot to announce at the beginning, but every little bit of reading I pause and I meditate. I think about things I've read and other different ideas and things I've studied in the past to make comments on it. That's the meditation part of it. And I'm stopping right now because what I just read what you just heard, is a prime example of the philosophy of Judaism. It's inherently very positive and makes a lot of sense to me and to many others from a spiritual point of view. And it was the argument that Nachmanides, the Ramban, gave to in his debate against Pablo Cristiani in the debate of James of Aragon in 1263, I think. I'm not sure. Could be off on that, but at any rate, it shows how God is a giver of good, and keeps good and evil in a very even playing field, and explains the reasons for both. And then the Christian philosophy, the Christian viewpoint, is that, how I understand it, is that we need to be saved from something. That thing that we need to be saved from, Judaism would call it the Yetzer Hara, and Christianity would call it Satan and sin. And if we're not saved, then we go to eternal damnation. That's at least how it's explained. There may be more to it, maybe a lot that I don't understand, and I'm open to understand more. And many people hold to that idea, and I'm at the process right now where I'm using the Ramchal's Kabbalistic work of the 138 Openings of Wisdom as a base, a springboard to try to evaluate both of these ideas and really find the truth in what one should believe, how it could be compatible that one lives as 100% a Jewish person with Jewish philosophy and yet still believe in the Messiah who is for everybody. People call him the Jewish Messiah. Christianity calls him the Messiah as well. And is it compatible, Jewish philosophy, with the Christian philosophy as it is laid out, as it's presented? Maybe it needs some adjustments. Maybe it needs to be tweaked a little bit. But it's inherently, essentially, my philosophy is of a Jewish person. Judaism makes sense to me: reward and punishment, good inclination, evil inclination. Essentially, everything that Tovia Singer explains in his videos makes sense to me. But seeing that all that I see today, and learning all that I've learned, you cannot easily cast aside the Messiah, who Christians hold to be the Messiah, and some Jews also hold to be the Messiah. Can there be a happy medium? Can there be an agreement among both? To say that this individual is the Messiah. However, the way Christian philosophy has been laid out needs some adjustment, needs some reform, as it were. And so I think that as a Jewish person who is Torah observant, who not only seeks to keep the mitzvot, the commandments of the Torah, all that are applicable today and that can be done, but also even the rabbinical commandments, because they're part of one thing. And I've understood it much differently now than I understand it differently now than I've understood it in the past. And that it's been said that if Yeshua were around today, he would encourage every Orthodox Jew to keep all of the mitzvot as much as possible. And if he is around today if you believe he's the Messiah. But what I mean is, if he was physically present and you heard him like a human being, if you could physically talk to him, he would tell you, as a Jew, keep every single mitzvah of the Torah and all the Rabbanans also. Not only the Araisas, but also the Rabbanans. I've heard people say that he would say that. And that's much different than when you enter Christianity, to say that he freed you from everything. It's quite different. And there's many different levels of Christianity that would say many different things. But I've heard all of the above. I've heard you're free from the curse of the law. Those comes from Paul. And that perhaps those words can be understood in some way, but not kipshuto. But at any rate, just continuing on, I'm trying to balance them. I'm using this work to do that. So each one of these matters involves many details. What we must understand is that the Supreme Mind calculated exactly how many levels were necessary to attain this object, and he made his precise number of levels, not one more and not one less. Now, what I'm reading now is not offered in Christianity. Christianity offers you a Bible, a New Testament, and believe in Jesus, and that's it. That's all you need. But it doesn't give you information about the qualities of God. And I don't know that in Judaism many people are interested in that so much either, but there are some books about it. I mean, there might be in Christianity some theologians who write some stuff, but I don't know. It just doesn't seem that it's going to this depth. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. This can be compared to the case of a person who wants to produce something that requires fire, but not too fierce a fire. The person must put the exact quantity of wood that will enable the fire to burn with no more than moderate heat. If he adds one extra piece of wood, the fire will burn too strongly, but if he puts one piece too little, the fire will not burn at the necessary heat. I take that back. I think there's some maybe Christian mystics who really seek to understand and you even have Christian Kabbalists Christians who study Kabbalah, the esoteric, getting into the mechanics of how God runs the creation. So I really should, maybe I spoke too soon. But anyway, this is like the fine-tuning agreement. One log too much would be too strong, one piece too little would be too weak. And so I've heard that expressed by William Lane Craig, the fine-tuning agreement about the existence of God. That's God. And Jesus, how he ties into that, I'm still trying to figure out. Similarly, the Supreme Mind knew on what level it was necessary that man should be built in order that he would be in the situation described above. He made just as many levels as were necessary, no less and no more, with just so many interconnecting links, not fewer and not more. Of this the sages said, and God saw all that he made, and it was very good. Genesis 1:31. A man should not say, if I had 3 legs. See Bereshit Rabbah 121 and Zohar 3:239b. As we will explain in the coming proposition, here it is forbidden to ask for a reason. This is because in order to understand the calculation, it would be necessary to know all the Supreme Mind knew, and this is impossible. However, after the levels and their interconnections were laid down, now that we know that they are all going only towards the ultimate goal, we can then investigate the function of these levels within the scheme of government. We can examine their purpose and study their constant forward movement toward the overall goal. In short, we cannot ask for a reason why the Sephirot exist and have this structure, because there is no better reason than the fact that this is the way it is, with exactly these levels arranged as they are, and through man's emergence from them on his appropriate level, he emerges with precisely the nature that was required that he should have. The purpose of the levels themselves, namely the Sephirot, each with its own unique quality, the purpose of all their parts, these are their 613 lights parallel to the 248 limbs and 365 interconnecting channels of the human form, their various properties. These are the laws in accordance with the light's function, parallel to the natural laws governing man. and all their interconnections. This refers to the different states of the Partsufim and how they are garbed in one another. One should not seek a reason for all these, because the overall reason is that they are all required to produce this composite being with his unique nature precisely the way it is. Man's eternal nature has to be this way in order that he may serve and attain perfection, as discussed earlier and as will be discussed further later on. This is the first foundation of the government instituted by the Emanator, blessed be his name. For everything that we discuss in relation to the Sephirot concerns only the laws of how the worlds are governed. All these laws are revealed by means of lights. Now, the first of all the laws is this foundational principle. This is the first light, and this is Keter, as will be discussed below. The reason for all the different parts of the creation is embedded in the Sphira of Keter. For he knew that this is what is necessary, no less and no more, to bring about one complete cycle of government in order to come to the intended goal of his creation, which is the perfect bestowal of good. This should now be clear in light of the above.